Hey folks, welcome to the Generational Gap. I am Robert, your resident Gen Xer, and right over there is John, our resident millennial. John, how are you doing tonight?
Doing all right, ready for a little bit of a show, I guess.
A little bit of a shoe.
A little bit of a show.
Hey folks, please do us a favor, make sure and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you like what you're hearing, if you don't like what you're hearing, or anything in between. We take it from all ends of the spectrum. I'm not sure I like the way that sounded, but anyway,
Yeah.
hey, HIV. This
Hey,
this is
roundtable decision
this is
is in
science.
the chat.
HIV, this is science. We haven't forgotten about you. We may not have found the cure, but we definitely haven't forgotten about you.
Yeah, that stupid commercial you were
That
telling me
was
about
that was a
earlier.
funny commercial. It was a funny commercial. Yes. But what do you? But John, that's the kind of scary stuff I don't want to hear, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and to preface, folks, I heard a commercial today. It was kind of funny, and it started out and it was science addressing HIV. Hi, HIV. This is science. Says, though we haven't found a cure for you, we haven't forgotten about you. And then goes on to talk about medications that are out that can help drive HIV within your system down to an almost undetectable place. Like you can barely tell that there's any HIV there. And then goes on to say, and as many doctors, blah, 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 as studies have shown, you can, if it is virtually undetectable in your system, you stand little to no risk of transmitting the HIV virus during sex.
Right, so no need to, protect yourself or let the
Right.
other person know. There's no need for any of that.
So, Doc, am I virtually undetectable or am I still detectable?
Right.
It's virtually undetectable. Good. I didn't want to buy those condoms anyway.
Oh, God.
Is that a message we need to put out there, John? I don't think that's a good message. Do you?
No,
No.
probably not.
I don't like the thought of that message. I just don't like it. But it was kind of funny.
Yeah.
It's gotta find your humor in places. If you can't, you, know, you gotta laugh at it, or you're gonna shoot yourself in the head with a
Yeah.
bazooka, which you can't get.
Which
Right?
you should be able to get.
Right? Right? Yeah. John, how's your week been? Been a good week?
It's been a very anxious week, yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's hard to quit smoking, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty
Four
difficult.
days off the sauce, and here you
Four
are,
days, yeah.
vaping and scraping, and yeah, I don't envy you. I don't.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not fun.
No, it never is. It's never. No, I've tried, and I had one good turn of it, and I was too young. I was like, oh, I can go a whole week without. It was that easy.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I could do it anytime.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh
as I
dude, Midget B is 4 days sober apparently.
where's Midget
That's
B?
unfortunate. Yeah, I was gonna
For
say I'm sorry. He said,
for
but not on purpose. That's why I was saying sorry
I
to hear that.
should we wait now, Midget? To be fair, when I said off the sauce, I was talking about cigarettes.
Cigarettes, yeah.
So define your sobriety. What are you off? Are you off the? Does that mean you're off the
Off the boozing.
opioids, the heroin, the booze, the crack cocaine? Which one have you? Or are you off of everything right now?
Oh
That's
man.
the important question. Um, John, it's been kind of an interesting week. How was your holiday? How was that for you?
It was alright. Pretty much just went to bed because I had to be up at 1 o'clock this morning or 12:30 this morning to be at work at 1 o'clock in the morning. So yeah, I didn't do shit.
So no fireworks for you?
Nope. I mean, I heard plenty of them. So there's
The,
that.
he says he can't afford his beers. His
Yeah,
grocery
dude,
bill
that's
is too damn high.
unfortunate.
Have you considered not eating as much? Because do remember, hops, barley, assorted grains in your beer, it's a trade-off. You can get your grain, there's part of that pyramid that can be filled with grain.
If you
Buy a beer.
start drinking stouts, it's like a meal in itself too.
Very close to
Very,
it.
very thick.
Does it have
Yeah,
protein?
very filling. I don't know.
Well,
Probably not.
Midget will get enough protein from his night job.
Haha, sucking dick.
Did you have to go there? We could have left it
Yeah,
hanging right
I
where it
did.
was, John. Right where it was. It could have hung right there.
Yep, I had to go
Um,
one more. That's it.
so, John, there's been some interesting stuff. One of the things we're going to talk about a little bit later this evening is, of course, yesterday we had the big fanfare in Washington D.C. Um,
Hmm.
did you happen to hear from anything about what we talked about with the talking about the
Whoa.
before the show tonight off mic about the person to talk to with the talking to?
Oh yeah. So we are supposed to have potentially Stephen Ignoramus on. Um, but he seems to be having internet problems. He can't even do his own his own show at the moment.
His beer
So
bill
what?
is too high,
That could be it.
right?
But yeah. So if it comes back on though, then he'll jump on. So that'll be cool. If he does, he'll be able to tell us all about what it was like in DC during the parade or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, don't
Uh,
jump the gun, midget. Just calm down.
yeah, we'll definitely get to that, won't we? Won't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's some other smaller stuff that we want to touch on first. First off, and I didn't even surprisingly enough, and so I figured this is kind of the best answer. I had someone ask the question today. Power went out on Roundtable's last video. See,
Oh
that's
man,
that's that's actually YouTube. I think
I
is
think we should be
is
careful.
because they know you're
Yeah,
putting your stuff up on other places. So when you're doing your videos, they know when you're doing them. So yeah, they know.
yeah.
They know somehow.
I
But
think we should
anyway,
be careful. Then we disavow everyone. We don't agree with what anyone says ever.
I don't agree with anybody at all. I don't even agree with
Good,
myself most of the time. I'm
good.
very disagreeable.
We should be safe then.
All right, so I didn't even realize this until today, and probably because I just didn't pay much attention to it. And as I was going to say, this is kind of an answer to the question that was asked to me about Trump's visit to the DMZ, right? When he went
Hmm.
to talk to Kim Jong Un, and apparently he walked. What was it? It was
10
what
steps into
10
North
steps
Korea.
into
Yeah.
North Korea, unprecedented, both. Right? Most president, it's been a long time. Who was our last president in North Korea? Do we know?
No, no, well, no one is, no sitting president has ever stepped foot in North Korea.
Well, of course not. But they still haven't because he was standing when he went in, right?
Well, yeah. Yes, it's true.
You're supposed
He's
to
not a
hit the rim
sitting
shot,
president.
John. I need the rim
Yeah,
shot
but
on
that
that
was
one. I
dumb.
need the rim shot. The rim shot is what makes it perfect and funny.
Doo-doo.
Yeah, there
Fine, there
you
you go.
go.
It's a little
Um,
lazy ass rim shot.
so, but the question was asked to me, how do I feel about that? And apparently, don't have any feeling on it because it wasn't really that big a deal enough to where anybody's. I don't know. Nobody's making enough of a deal about it for me to even notice it. I knew he went into the DMZ. I wasn't surprised by that. I knew he was planning on doing that. I knew what it resulted in. Yes, they both say they want to come back to the table. But you know, so but all in all, it's not surprising, right? I mean, I mean,
I
we live in a
think
new.
that's pretty surprising.
Do you really? I
Yeah.
mean, Trump has never been one to me from. I don't know. He
Oh my
doesn't.
god.
He doesn't give me a sense of hardcore protocol like certain protocols. Like I know that the way you see him dealing with certain Asian countries is trying to deal with them on their level, culturally speaking, whatever.
Hmm.
But when it comes to protocol, and I think off mic I use the example of Taiwan,
Yeah.
where he broke protocol with them, even to
Hmm.
the angerment of China twice. So those kind of protocols, I don't think he cares. So it's not
I don't
surprising to
think
me
he
that he
does.
walked in.
I think it's like part of shaking things up, right?
Well, okay, so he cares enough to break protocol,
Right. And he
right?
realizes he's doing it in a way that's not going to endanger himself, for the most part.
Um, now,
Disavow Midget B. We disavow everything that Midget B says ever.
So, and now Midget says, imagine the lamestream media not making a big deal out of a Trump accomplishment. Now, I'm going to say this, I'm just going to devil's advocate this. Do we see that as an accomplishment, or do we see that as, is just a bold move? Like, and I guess almost grandstanding, like breaking a
It's,
specific protocol
I mean,
for the shock value of it.
it's definitely it's definitely a big deal. I mean, it's definitely an accomplishment because he was invited to step over the line. I mean, that's a huge symbolic gesture, at least.
I told you, I did mention this off mic. It would have been funny if he had just kind of like done it, and
Yeah,
then North Korea could have been like, "Oh, we were invaded.
that's
American
true.
military invaded us." I don't think any other. See, I think we've already done this joke, Midget. Now, oh, actually, he said Isaac.
It wasn't a joke.
Who was in
You were the
the
one who
who?
made a joke.
It. Yes,
Oh,
I made a joke. You just admitted I made a joke. Thank you, John, for giving
yeah,
me
but your joke was gay.
whatever. Who? Truman was in a wheelchair, right?
It wasn't Truman.
Not Truman. Eisenhower.
No, that was one of the Roosevelts.
Roosevelt was in the one of the Roosevelts. Yes, Teddy
Right,
Roosevelt. Theodore.
right. Yeah, I don't. You know what? I don't remember. I feel like a fucking moron now.
Who was it that was in?
Tell us, chat.
No, it was
Yeah,
Eisenhower.
are you sure it was Eisenhower? I don't
Was
think
it?
so. Roosevelt. It was Roosevelt.
It was
Yeah,
Roosevelt because,
yeah, it was
but
right.
he
I know
used
what
to
the
be in
fuck
the
I'm talking
military and then
about.
wound up in a wheelchair, right? He used to ride cavalry, didn't he? Theodore
No,
Roosevelt.
no, not Theodore. It
Oh,
was FDR.
FDR.
Yeah,
Franklin. Okay, so
yeah.
yes, he was in a wheelchair. Now he would have been the only
God damn.
he would have been a good sitting president to go into North Korea, but I don't think he did.
Yeah. Okay, so no president has gone into North Korea while they were president.
Ah,
God.
but why? It's just because of the Korean War? I mean, have we really?
Well, yeah, because they've shut everyone else out.
Hey, it's not my fault, Midget. There's too many Roosevelts.
There are a lot of Roosevelts.
Yeah, I mean, who has two
They're almost like
presidents?
Kennedys, just
Right?
everywhere.
Right? Except they lived through their presidencies. Um, anyway, we're still in a state of war. Have we ever left a
Well,
state of war,
technically.
Midget? I mean, technically, we're rarely out of a state of war.
Well, he's talking about with Korea specifically.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
We never ended that war, yeah.
Well, but before that war, right? We still didn't have anybody that would go over there. We, diplomatically speaking, that kind of thing.
I mean, maybe, but they weren't North Korea before that war.
Oh, that's
It was
true.
just
There
Korea.
wasn't a break, so technically they would have just been going to Korea.
Right.
Yeah, gotcha. So anyway, no, this it's not a surprising thing to me that Trump crossed over into the border. It's a Trump thing to do. I would have been more concerned if he hadn't. So that would have been more surprising for me, because I've learned now that you've just got to expect that kind of thing from Trump. And it's like I told you earlier, it's a new day and age from the standpoint of our president. It's a lot different now than it used to be, I think. Just in the in-your-face aspect of it, both from the media, which you say, you were talking about the media really putting it in our face, but he puts himself in our face so much more. And and I again, I'm gonna wind up giving Trump props here. Surprisingly enough, for good or bad, him keeping himself in our face is something that very few presidents do. He is probably the first president, I would say, that America as a whole, haters and lovers of Trump, they feel connected to him. They feel connected to the president, and as some of them be like, "Oh, screw you! I'm not." No, you are, because you're commenting, you're responding, you're talking back to him on a regular basis. So, whether he sees it or not, you're doing it, and I'm sure he does. Right. He goes through, he reads through that shit. He does.
I don't know. Don't know if he has time.
Really?
Yeah, he's too busy tweeting to be reading comments.
Well, yeah, no, because I mean, in a 3 a.m. session in the bathroom, he fires off. It just depends on the rant he's on. It might just be a 1 or 2 tweet rant, so he has time to look at comments as they come in. And Trump haters are connected by the brain sim. He's living rent free in their
Rent
heads,
free, yeah, yeah, he is. It's true.
and he is. But anyway, so I don't know. It's strange to give him props for that, but it's another one of those things where I'm shaking my head sometimes, wondering, why am I okay? I'm finding things I'm okay with about this president. Trump is like the crazy uncle everyone still kind of likes. Yeah, but
Yeah,
when it's all said and done, if he asks you to come help him with something in the shed, don't go. I'm
yeah,
just
it's true.
saying. No, Uncle Donald, I don't want to go in the shed again.
Not again. I don't like those kind of games. Yeah.
Right.
Oh god,
Go
got
get
nice and
Barron.
dark.
Go get Barron. Uh, so, all right. So, moving a little bit away from Trump for the moment. John, we've had a new situation go on with Iran, and I want to run this by you and see what your take on it is. So, apparently, near Gibraltar, which is a UK-held Commonwealth,
It's
right?
part of the Commonwealth of Nations.
Right.
Fairly sure.
Iran had a ship. I believe it was either some sort of cargo ship, I think, or oil. One of the two. Anyway, it doesn't matter because there's sanctions that they, according to the news article, suspected were headed to Syria. So Iran sending goods to Syria in some fashion by boat, breaking the sanctions that are supposed to be imposed on Syria. And again, suspected. So the UK, out of Gibraltar, they came and seized the ship. And Iran says that it's an act of piracy, that they seized the ship. And so their next claim is that the UK is doing it out of being the lapdog for the U.S. because apparently, according to a BBC correspondent for Iraq, there are indications that the information about where the ship was supposed to be going reached the United Kingdom via the U.S. We gave them this information, and then they acted upon it. And now they also they threw out a threat. They said, if you aren't going to release our ship, then that leaves us no choice but to go ahead and take one of yours. So, first off, and hopefully, I know what your trolley answer would be. So we'll skip that.
Wait, what's my trolley answer?
Well, whenever I ask you, so is taking this ship an act of piracy? I know you'll say no, it's privateering because
Okay, but that's just a difference in terms. That's not
right.
trolling.
Well,
No,
no,
it's
but
not piracy. That is my legitimate answer.
okay.
It's not
So,
piracy.
but my question is, does the UK have a right to seize this ship without knowing for certain if it wasn't known for certain or not? Because, as I said, the article, everything says suspected to be going to Syria. Do they have a right to stop and seize this ship until for further examination?
Well, they are able to stop it and search it for sure. I know they can do that. I don't know, and maybe they found some evidence on there that they were lying to him or something.
Should the
So it's
UK?
not really. We don't really know.
So shouldn't they be acting, if the UK is going to seize the ship, shouldn't they be acting under orders from the United Nations
No,
before they do that?
those are
Or,
their waters. I mean,
well, they're their waters, but the sanctions themselves, are they imposed by the United States? Are they imposed by the UN? Or were they sanctions that are also being imposed by the United Kingdom as well on Syria? Do we all have sanctions on them to
I'm not
where
sure. I
this?
think so. I
Okay,
think we do. I'm pretty sure it's all through the UN, which of course we have most of the influence on.
now we did come to the conclusion that if they're heading in towards Syria, that means they're going into the Mediterranean Sea. And the bulk of countries that they would access, if not all of them, besides Syria, would be countries that it would be okay for trade with. However, they are Iran and probably wouldn't have any trade deals going with any of those countries. Didn't we kind of
Well, it's
come to
mostly the
that logical
EU.
conclusion?
Yeah, it's most of the EU that are at least on the northern side of the northern coast of the Mediterranean, which is where it was going, obviously.
So we could pretty much guess that if they were sending a ship in there, the primary destination would most likely have to be Syria.
I don't know. I mean, sure, unless it was going to somewhere in North Africa, which is there's the southern coast of the Mediterranean. So I don't know, but I'm sure they found some sort of evidence
Right.
that that was the case.
Because the only thing I could think is, okay, so that means that there would be there would be expectation from one of these other countries. So it would just take an assortment of phone calls to find out if any of these countries are expecting a shipment from Iran, right?
Right.
And I'm assuming, I don't know, sanctions work both ways. Am I correct? So, like, Iran has sanctions on it, Syria has sanctions on it. Is Iran allowed to, like, do those sanctions impose what they can trade with other people? Not get, but send to other people in trade.
I would say yeah, because I mean you can't trade with them, so you're either going to give them money or other goods.
Gotcha.
So I would think so. It makes sense.
So it would be, in essence, it would kind of be a two-way sanctions violation going on there.
Right, somewhere.
So now I put this out there, and of course, this is because always my conspiracy theorist, devil's advocate comes out, and I say, that it says to me, okay, is it possible that the U.S. prompted this? In essence, not sending one of our own ships to take care of this because of the closeness of the UK, but also from the standpoint that if we're going to get involved with Iran, it would be a good idea to be involved with other countries. So seeing this as a way to draw the UK into this potential conflict going on with Iran.
I mean,
or is it even necessary?
I mean, I think it could be, but I think most likely it's just that, like, hey, we have word that some people are going to be passing through your place over there, your Straits of Gibraltar, so we don't have anything in the area. They take this information and deal with it.
And I think part of that just comes from the simple fact the previous two tankers that were attacked, or the two ships that were attacked, and there was the kerfuffle of, okay, who was it that actually initiated this attack when Iran is saying they didn't do it, and so I'm like, okay, so what are we playing a game here, or was this just this was very specific, this was something serious that we needed to deal with? It'll be interesting to see how events unfold. I don't know that I see Iran making that kind of move against the UK. Not that the UK is anything more scary, is anywhere near as scary as us, but they're closer. They're like right there, and the EU is right there. There's more UN powers right there near them than America. So I would think that this is, or NATO forces. I guess I should be saying NATO. There's more NATO forces around them than us that could summarily handle any of this shit that they might do trying to take a UK boat, right? I don't think the UK would sit very well with that.
No, and they're not too bad militarily.
Well, they've got a thing or two going on with boats, somewhat, wouldn't you say? I mean, they've been known to have a boat or two.
Yeah, they have. Yep.
The UN, what a joke. Roundtable 62.
I wonder if the Trident is still over there in Gibraltar. I know it was recently. It's like their nuclear deterrent. It's this massive ship.
Is that a UK ship?
Yeah. Yeah,
And it's a nuclear deterrent?
right. So I'm not sure 100% what that means, but I know it's a badass ship.
Is it like a big, is it just full of nuclear warheads? I mean, it's,
I don't know if it has any on there. I haven't like looked into it too much. I don't know if it actually has any, but I know it has ways of like shooting them down, and
wait, are you trying to tell me the UK is nuclear capable?
well, yeah, obviously they are. God,
Shouldn't we take nukes from everybody?
no, we need to have the nukes. That's fine.
Yeah,
We
that's what I'm
shouldn't be able
saying. We
to.
need to have the nukes. Nobody else needs to have them. We need all the nukes. Nobody else has them, and
Right,
then we win.
right.
The one with the most toys wins.
Ones with the biggest toys
Hmm.
wins.
It depends on how you look at it. I've always heard the most toys, and I think that's true because if you have the most toys, you have the most options to play with.
I don't know. I mean, if you have 10,000 marbles or you have a go kart, I mean, who wins?
The guy with the marbles, because all he's got to do is get his slingshot and shoot one of those
Oh
things
well,
in the back of the head with the go kart.
no one's saying they're gonna fight. I'm just saying who wins
Oh,
in
there's always
terms
a
of
fight.
fun
I mean, we're
and
humans.
how much fun,
We're going to take
you
what
know.
we want, by golly, by gum. We'll throw marbles at you. We'll spread them all out in front of your go-kart and watch you spin out, crash into a tree, fix the axle, and take off on that thing ourselves with a sack of marbles ready to go. I mean, that's how
Hmm.
we are, John. That's what,
Okay,
we're going to
that
bring
wasn't my point,
democracy
but
to
that's
that
okay.
go-kart. We're going to liberate that go-kart, my friend.
That's right.
We will liberate the cart.
Anyway,
So,
anyway,
I don't know, John. What's your prediction? What's are we gonna disarm this bullshit with Iran? I mean,
I don't know. It's
it's
tough
just
to
the
see.
next. Yeah, it just keeps
Yeah,
being
it's
that
tough to see
next.
where it's supposed to go because I can't imagine why Iran would be talking the shit that they do when they're just surrounded by enemies. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Doesn't make any sense to me.
Because they have big balls, John.
I guess, but they're gonna get cut off pretty quick.
Will they, John? I mean, will they
Or maybe,
really?
maybe they realized that it would be an unpopular war, and so they're betting that we're not going to actually do much.
Um,
I don't
so,
know.
one last question, and then we'll move on.
Hmm.
Um, do you think do you th- that more decisive action taken by Carter during the Iran hostage? That was Carter, wasn't it? Iran hostages, or was that Reagan?
I think that was Reagan, wasn't it?
Was it Reagan with the Iran? Who had Iran Contra? That
Yeah,
was
that was
Reagan.
Reagan.
But
Yeah, that
who
was
had
Reagan.
who during the Olympics? It was when the hostages were released from Iran.
I
Or am
don't
I
know.
getting events out of time sync? But
Most
anyway,
likely.
should we have done
Uh,
something more decisive at that time that maybe would not leave Iran in a place to be doing these kind of things now?
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to
Well,
tell with
right,
these, whataboutisms and
we can't do too much of the
what ifisms.
Mr. Peabody's Wayback Machine.
Right.
You have no idea, do you?
Mm-hmm.
You know what that is?
It's that little dog and the gay kid,
The-
and they went back in time to like teach about history and stuff. Right?
To teach about history, I guess technically there were lessons to be learned there. Um, I am actually still learning lessons today. I didn't know that the kid was gay.
Oh yeah, the kid's totally gay.
Sherman, wasn't his name Sherman?
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah, Sherman. So, are you sure he was gay?
pretty sure.
Oh, he married that Williams guy, and they started a paint company.
It's Sherwin.
Huh?
That's Sherwin
Yeah,
Williams, not Sherman Williams.
close enough.
Isn't it Sherman? Maybe it is Sherman. I don't know. I'm fucking
No, it's
stupid. Who cares?
Sherwin.
Let's
I
move on.
was trying to
It
make
is
a
Sherwin.
joke. I was trying to make a
Yeah,
joke, John. You
your
you
joke sucks.
you ruined it.
You were reaching too far.
All you're responsible for is the fucking rim shot, John. That's all you really need to worry about, and you keep missing it.
Ah,
Anyway,
damn.
so John, yesterday in Washington, D.C.,
Yes.
um, our illustrious president, for the first time in what was it, 70 something years, or almost 70 years, our president addressed us on July 4th.
Yeah.
Now, his idea was and he said it was inspired by Bastille Day in France. And he wanted to put on um, we'll call it, I'll call it paraphrasing, a military extravaganza, a big parade, show off our military, make America proud, that kind of thing. Did you watch it?
Yeah, I did. Actually watched all I think NBC had like 2.5 hours of content, coverage, whatever. It was pretty cool.
Um, was it all right, well, let me preface by saying when I think about military parades, I look at the different ones that we've seen around the world. Um, whether it be, in North Korea, we've seen those. We've seen them in China. We've seen them in France, of course, with Bastille Day. Germany, well, I don't know if Germany does them so much anymore, but we've seen military parades throughout history, right? Um, did this measure up? Did this measure up to the grandeur that he put forth, that he wanted to present for our military?
I mean, no, obviously not for what you were saying, but I mean, again, he's between a rock and a hard place when it comes to that. People are bitching that there was no parade, but if there was, it would have been like, oh, he's a dictator. Look, he's doing this just like all these other people. He's a dictator now, and so I mean, he wouldn't have won either way. But no, I mean, I think it was good. I think it was originally meant to be a parade, but then people in DC started getting pissed off about, what is it going to do to our roads?
Mm-hmm.
You better pay for that, whatever. And so it was just like, screw it, we'll just park the tanks. And that's what ended up happening.
I was a little, well, I guess it's one of those things you had to be there to really get any impact from it. Now, I have to agree with Mitch. It seemed the B-52 bomber, the stealth bomber, because you don't really see those that often, right?
No.
You can, unless you do a specific search for them. But if you just pull up military aircraft videos, you'll see all these other things. We saw some new stuff for the Coast Guard. I guess that the Coast Guard helicopters and plane that they flew over were supposed to be some new stuff. A little bit of that, but I wasn't. I wasn't terribly impressed with the flyovers. I don't know. I'm sure some of it had to do with the camera angles and how it was being recorded, but I didn't. I don't know, John. I wasn't filled with a sense of military pride that I was hoping for. Look, if and I understand what you're saying, but this is Trump. I mean, it's one of those things where this was yet another opportunity for him to say, be damned, this is what we're doing, and we're going to do this.
I do think that he did that with his introductions, like before each set would fly over. Those introductions were great for each branch of the military. I think he did a very good job when it came to that.
Sure.
So I mean, I think that's kind of where most of that was, especially on camera. I'm sure if you were there, it'd be a lot cooler. The Blue Angels are still really awesome. Shout out to those guys. Those guys are fucking sweet.
To be
daredevils, man.
to be honest with you, I don't know. I've seen presidents visit like military bases, and that kind of thing. That inspires me when I see all of those men, snap to, this is the president, because I know the mind of the military, and he is the commander-in-chief to them. I don't know, he's my boss. That's my boss right there. That's all there is to it. And they act like it, and they show just like high levels of respect and dress and regard and all of this. So, did I, of course, when I heard about this, have this mindset that yes, this is the kind of thing that we see in these countries run by dictators, this, that, and the other. We need to wave our penis around and make sure all the people in the country see it so that we show how powerful we are. But then I did look and think about Bastille Day and how France does it, and France is, not as, well, they're a little bit fashy, but
They're pretty damn fashy, yeah.
I'm trying to be a little
No,
magnanimous here, okay?
no.
But I was like, okay, fine, let's see what he does, and then he just kind of, he let the ball drop a little bit, in my opinion. John, you need to get more sleep and stop doing that in the middle of the show. Thank you.
It was just boring me, But yeah, no, I mean, I think it was great. I think the speech went really, really well, except for that one gaffe that everyone's talking about that no one can let go about. Taking over the airports, even though he was mentioning the War of Independence and whatnot. So, but yeah, I think it went really, really well.
But why did
I
he?
enjoyed it.
Why would? Why? I'm trying to see the reasoning behind pulling back as opposed to just being his brazen self. If he did that one, I don't understand a lot.
Wait, pulling back? What do you mean?
Well, on what he planned to do, like you said,
Oh,
he kind of toned
yeah.
it down from what he planned on doing. It's weird when he does those things, when you call it out that that's probably why he did it. So, it's like, what's the motivation? What's the end goal for pulling it back?
Well, I mean, again, he had all kinds of complaints about, especially messing up the roads with the tank treads. So he was probably just like, screw it, or whoever was planning it. I'm sure he didn't really plan it.
Come on, Uncle Donald just doesn't. He doesn't really give a shit when people complain. I mean, that's my thing. Is
Well,
like
he does when they're right outside his house.
I guess, yeah. So yeah, I mean, he did. He did talk a lot. Now, fortunately, this was all prompted speech, and there was a lot of good history there, talking about the different branches and different things that had gone on. Yeah, there were a few little hiccups here and there. I don't know that he's the best orator.
No, not at all. Not even close.
It was, so it was a little bit choppy, and so I do think that maybe he did ad-lib a little here and there, which is probably what led to that gaffe that he threw out there. They say that wasn't the only one, but I'm like, you're splitting hairs. I won't say that it didn't generate some fun little comments on Twitter.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah.
Some of the memes that were thrown out were quite funny. George Washington addressing, a letter to Martha, and he's like, the battle at the baggage terminal was very hairy, but we finally lobbed them with Cinnabons, and we emerged victorious. And I'm like, okay, that's some funny shit right there. Thank you, sir, for giving us something to play with.
There you go.
I mean, should I feel bad about that, John?
No, that's funny. Absolutely.
But yeah, I told you. So you got to see the Blue Angels. Was it pretty much one of their standard performances, just a good flyby with some aerial dynamics on the way through, or was it multiple flies?
All I saw was just a one flyby. Like, they just kind of had a really tight formation and just flew over.
Were they doing the red, white, and blue trails?
Yeah, but they were kind of faint. Like, it was difficult to tell that they were. It was real cloudy. Yeah.
There were flash flood warnings at the time. Supposedly they had put out flash flood warnings till 8 p.m. in Washington, D.C. I didn't know it was a floodplain in that area. I don't know that I've ever heard about flooding in Washington, D.C. Maybe it was a meteorological conspiracy to try and shut down the parade, but
isn't the Potomac right there?
No, that's true.
Yeah.
Or unless they're worried about that right there in front of the Washington Monument. What's the little water piece?
The reflecting pool. Yeah.
Unless they were worried that was going to fill up and start spilling over everywhere.
Might.
But yeah, so I don't know. It left me a little wanting. Now, That's not to say that it was not fun for some folks involved, right?
Yeah,
Because apparently there were protesters there.
of
Surprise!
course.
There were
I know.
protesters at an event where Trump was at.
Who could protest America? Wow.
Well, since you bring it up, apparently communists don't like America.
What? I thought they were like America's biggest fans.
Yeah, see, everybody liked the stealth plane.
Yeah, well, it
J.
was
Edgar,
cool.
you
I
don't
mean, to
see
be
them
fair.
because they're stealthy. Well, actually, you could see it. I can't wait till they actually have a true stealth bomber, to
So
where
they
it's
turned they turned the cloaking device off, so you're able to see it. Otherwise, it would just look like two. What were they? What was escorting it? The Raptors, right? Weren't they?
John. Do you think I'm as dumb as you look?
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. The, I know the difference between real
Yeah, I
life and
know.
Alien versus Predator. Okay,
All right.
but they are very close to the technology to make that stealth bomber actually disappear. Just FYI, they are very close. But so apparently there was a group of commies at the rally protesting, and these sons of bitches, and surprisingly, only 2 people were arrested, which I'm like, you should lock up the whole fucking group. But that's just me. Um, they thought it would be cool to burn a flag, an
Uh-oh.
American flag, at an Independence Day celebration in the heart of our country, in Washington, D.C., where our president was present. How fucked up is that, John?
I mean, whatever. It's their right to do it.
Uh, they no, I don't believe defamation of the flag is not legal in this country, John.
It
That's
is as
why
a
they.
form of protest,
I don't believe you're allowed to burn a flag. I'm
aren't you?
pretty sure there's a
Pretty
law.
sure.
There are
Pretty
laws.
damn sure you
There's laws
can.
against burning a flag because, well, there's a proper way to just. If you're properly destroying
Yeah.
the flag, that's one thing. But to burn a flag like that, because that was part of the reason these guys were arrested, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I don't know the full story behind it. It could be just something to do with like you can't burn it in the middle of the street or something like that. I don't know,
Well,
but
we had the pleasure of, and we're going to give a shout out to News to Share, which is a YouTube site. Maybe we should make sure and put a
yeah,
link of that into our description.
I did
And
promise him that I would do that,
yeah,
so we should
so
definitely do that.
make sure and get those links so we can throw them into the description when we're done here. So basically, his name is Ford Fisher, and he does on the street journalism. Like, he's got a helmet cam on, and he's out there in the mix of it, and does a site on YouTube called News to Share. You can also find him on Twitter. Please make sure and grab that link as well, please, John.
Yeah,
We will.
he's also. I want to say that he has agreed to an interview with us on our show. But I'm going to hit him up in about a week to see if we can come up with a time for him to be on.
Yeah, definitely
So that'll be awesome.
Get the solids on that.
Yeah.
I'd like to talk to him. Does he live in DC, by the way?
I don't know.
Okay, we'll have to find that out. I'm curious about that. If he was just if he goes on location. So anyway, he did give us the authority, the right of way to, as it were, to show a video. And John, if you don't have the stream pulled up, I'm not sharing my screen.
I do.
Okay, so you'll be able to hear it. I'm going to go ahead and broadcast this, and it's now the video is going to be about 9.5 minutes long, but this shows the scene.
Well, we can skip around
if I want to, but right now I'm not feeling it. But anyway, so not only was there the flag burning, but it also led to an altercation between these communists and the Proud Boys, who are, of course, avid Trump supporters. And so without further ado, let's take a look at that, and let me make sure I got some volume going on this. And this is the camera being a little shaky, not me, or screwy, as it were. Can I pause it? No. No. There's YouTube.
America was never great.
America was never great.
Yeah, what kind of bullshit is that? They have no idea what they're talking about.
5, 6, 7, 8. America was never great.
Now, one thing I've got to say, and they sit there and they chant that America 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8. America was never great.
Mm-hmm.
Yet you are standing in the capital of our country, protesting and allowed to protest without repercussion as long as you keep it peaceful.
Yep.
But this country's never been great.
Yeah, well, I mean, you take it, take those kind of things for granted. If you've never been to another country that doesn't allow that, you wouldn't know. And I mean, I haven't. I've never been to a country that doesn't allow that, but I mean, it's pretty easy to imagine a place and a place that doesn't allow you to do that.
I mean, are we
here?
Are we not?
We allow you to. I was gonna say our government, it doesn't need to allow criticism. Obviously, due to the Constitution, it does, but it doesn't have to follow the Constitution. No, obviously, we would, hopefully rise up and, get rid of a government that would not allow that. But I don't know. I think these people have. I don't know. I don't know. I can't even think of the mindset where you would say, "Oh, this country has never been great." It's just ridiculous. It's demonstrably false.
Well,
of course it has been.
And
even if you don't think it's not now, that's one thing. But to say that it never has is just absolutely ridiculous.
And Wyatt puts in the chat, he says, the whole anti-America has really pissed me off lately. People are so undereducated. Now, before we continue on with the video, and I'm going to put this question out there to you, Wyatt, do you feel like you were undereducated as well? Because, quite honestly, if education was there, when we're talking about our history and the history of the world, we don't even have to go much further back than Tiananmen Square for really great examples of what can happen in countries that do not allow you the freedom to do exactly what these guys are doing. I mean, how can that not speak to greatness? And how are we not educating people on this? I mean, really educating our kids about the freedoms that they have and what sets us apart from the rest of the world. It's amazing to me. On our Day of Independence, you're doing this. Think about it. They don't have more than 5 thoughts going through their head. And all of those are kind of stupid.
Yeah. 100%.
So they burn the flag. Here come the police.
Alright, go ahead.
Pieces of shit.
Yeah.
What's that first part they're saying? 1, 2, 3, 4, what?
I don't know. I can't hear it.
Oh, you can't hear the volume? Gotcha.
Not a lot, no. I mean, I could probably turn the volume on the stream.
America was never great.
All right, so let me see. I'm going to see if I can't skip ahead a little bit. Oh, here we go.
Back up now! You are breaking the law!
Now see, you gotta again. Here you are, not just in front of police, but in front of their Secret Service standing
The
there.
Secret Service, yeah, they're not going to fuck around like the police do. This isn't
Right?
Portland, gentlemen.
Right? I mean, that's Secret Service. That's for all intents and purposes, if you think we're fascist, that's the fucking SS, pal. That's the Secret Service. Those are the guys that will end you if you are a threat with impunity.
Without remorse.
None.
No consequence.
None.
I mean,
I'm like, what is wrong with you? Real quick, Wyatt does this. I think I was educated in history. Like, for example, I know that not every founding father was pro-slaves or had slaves. Of course, they want to teach a positive rhetoric about slavery. That's kind of been glossed over. But yeah, so
it's their favorite thing.
They don't teach you why you should be proud of your country, why you should be proud of your freedoms, why you should really embrace them.
Yeah,
we were never great, John.
America was never great.
While we continue watching this, help me see if you spot Jay in the group. Was he there?
Oh, yeah.
Our boy Jay.
Yeah.
Jay the communist.
The resident commie.
All right. Let's see what else.
Joey Johnson.
And another member of the Revolution Club.
And another member of the Revolution Club.
Who is a veteran.
Who is a veteran.
Who has turned away from American empire.
Who has turned away from American empire.
And stood with the people of the world.
And stood with the people of the world.
The chants suck.
Hey, get on the sidewalk.
This fucking guy.
We're all Americans, but we don't want to be engaged in foreign wars. So then why'd you vote for Hillary? So who'd you vote for? What? Who'd you pen in? Okay, so you think Bernie wasn't going to wage a war in Syria? You think Bernie wasn't going to wage... You think that Bernie wasn't going to arm the people in Al-Qaeda?
Is that a taser I hear going off?
Probably.
That guy right there.
That's what you get for being a piece of shit communist, fucking faggot.
He gave him his hat back.
That's nice of him.
Fuck the SPLC! Fuck the SPLC! Fuck the SPLC! Fuck the SPLC! And fake news! We are not white supremacists! Antifa are terrorists!
Go back to Germany, you terrorists!
Wow. This is a lot of stuff going on Independence Day. There's Basic Bear dropping in. Calling us, we're the bigots. We're the bigots. We're
bigots.
We're anti-bear. We're anti-bear.
I just invited him to come watch us. So make sure you subscribe and like and all that kind of stuff. I'm sure some other people in the chat there will talk to you for a bit.
Are we bigots? Would you say?
I'm sure there are some who would call us that. Yes.
But the good kind of bigots, right?
Are there any good bigots? Let's think of examples of good.
I'm bigoted against communists. I think.
Fair enough. Okay.
I think if you want to be a communist, then peace the fuck out and go to a communist country. Go somewhere where they want to support your views.
Bigoted.
Right? No, it's okay. You can call me bigot. I got no worries with that.
We encourage shit posting.
Right?
You've been in our Discord before. You know what it's like.
The first time I saw him say that in our Discord server, for some reason in my mind, I was like, why is he calling us Bigfoot? All right, let's see what this young man has to say here in the video.
All right.
No shit, no commies, no socialism. Well, calm down. No commies, but a little socialism goes a long way.
No, I disavow.
Do you?
No socialism.
Do you? All right, whatever. All right, here we go.
I saw the whole thing. One of he was dressed in all black, so I don't know what side he was on, but he headbutted one of our guys, and then the scuffle came in. Cops took him in, put him in handcuffs, and then put him back in the crowd. Our guys didn't even get cuffed, and we're just out here to have a good time. Somebody decides to headbutt us.
I'm standing in between everyone, and the guy comes across, headbutts like that.
Self-defense is great. We don't start shit, we finish it.
So they're just out here to have a good time.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know. Is getting into a yelling match, even getting into a yelling match, is that the good time? Is that the good time?
Yeah, it's a good time for some people.
This was kind of funny. This is a fella who's, I believe we might all know who he's making fun of. Here we go.
Yes. Certain representatives.
AOC, what's up, AOC? They got me caged like an animal. Obama, why are you doing this, Obama?
Oh, man. This guy's a fucking legend. They like, get out. That's funny.
That's AOC. Let's go.
Did you hear that? One of the cops said, "Who says this?" And somebody in the background said, "AOC's." She laughed at it.
That's funny.
Oh my god. Oh, this is what I've always said about America. It takes all types. It really does. It's sad to say that, to see us at this point, see these kind of things going on, because this is not I don't know. This is not how America should be. This is not how our people should be with one another. I get it, but man, I tell you, it is the mix of all sorts of people that, sad to say, is one of those things that supposedly makes us great. That you're allowed to be this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard. I was sitting at the bar, I was having some beers, and I heard there were communists like a block away burning American flags. So I was like, all right, let's head on over here and let's see what's going on. And we get here, and
does that kid look old enough to be at a bar having a couple of drinks?
I don't know.
Right, I'm like...
It's like somewhere between the age of about 13 and 40.
Right. I think he just...
I can see both.
Like the only thing that I'm questioning is whether he went through puberty. And if he did, what did his voice sound like before he hit puberty?
Right.
Wyatt asked, did you see the Border Patrol posted a video replying to AOC? No, I have not seen that. I have not seen that.
Yeah, send us a link to that.
Yeah, throw a link there in the description. We'll see what we can pull up. I will say that I did see a news article where apparently they found another, we'll call it hidden or discreet Facebook page where more of this shit posting was going on, kind of thing. and as far as what's going on down at the border. But yeah, if you could, White, if you've got a link to that, throw it in there. I'd love to pull it up.
For sure.
We're almost through this, so let's see. This kid, I think this kid's kind of funny though. He's just, again, I'm like, dude, how many drinks have you had? Hey man, I've never seen a communist. Let's go see what they're doing, man. They're burning flags.
Instead of communist.
Basically a big circus for the most part.
Communist.
Proud of you, boy. Proud of you, boy. You got that hands women today.
That's why they built the wall.
We will never give in to the Communist Manifesto infiltration into the United States of America. We know Barack Obama armed and funded radical Islamic extremists.
See some nice white nationalist hand symbols there.
We're not the violent ones.
What's
What's your name?
So I love that he's like, we know Obama funded, radical Muslim extremists, and like, technically haven't all presidents, whether inadvertently or knowingly. I mean, we don't know how many of our weapons are winding up in the hands of terrorists around the world, do we? I mean, we just we sell them to somebody who we think wants the weapons, and I don't know. It's one of those things. Yeah, but it's like, oh well, we can pin this to Obama, we can pin this to Obama, and it's great, but
it's
I mean, what do you think's happening when we're making a $1 billion arms deal with Saudi Arabia? Saudi Arabia's only keeping them for themselves.
Oh, we've got that link from Wyatt. Oh, look,
posted the link in the to the video and show suggestions. Yeah, see if you can post it in the chat, please. I want to pull up the window.
He was banging his chief of staff's wife. Yes.
Get to it real quick. And boom! Link posted. Like a boss. I don't know what I'm doing.
Blue Lives Matter. Blue Lives Matter.
Blue Lives Matter. Blue Lives Matter. Blue Lives Matter. Blue Lives Matter. Blue Lives Matter.
Back to blue. Back to blue. Back to blue. That's what's happening.
Nancy Pelosi can drink, look at here, every red hat.
This guy's
put
funny.
Put them in a line, shot to shot. Nancy Pelosi will put this whole crew under the table. $1,000 a week on her private jet and alcohol.
That's right.
Yeah.
That sounds like Russian propaganda, sir.
Hey, she drinks vodka. That's Russian collusion.
Vodka? Oh, she's in collusion.
And she hates ice except in her whiskey.
She puts vodka in her milk.
Drunk heretical bitch.
Ice is in her whiskey.
I'm trying to give Nancy Pelosi exorcism with
I was hoping he would. Is he going to say the
Nancy Pelosi used to be kind of hot, like back in the day.
That one was funny though. The ice. She hates ice except in her whiskey.
But he also says that she was hot back in the day, back in an old film kind of way. She has a nice rack. All right. Is that where you're going with Nancy Pelosi? She's got a nice rack. You want to get with that?
She might have. I mean, I said that about Hillary and her booty. She had a fat booty back in the 90s. I don't know if you know.
Well, that comment about her drinking so much on the plane, I'm like, she doesn't fly on that plane alone, and she's probably, going places and meeting people and flying places with people. She's probably not doing all that herself. I mean, otherwise we'd call her John. So, where's that link?
I put it in the
show
thing.
Chat, John.
What do you mean the show chat?
We have a chat stream for the show.
Wow, you want me to put it in there like a pleb?
Yes, because it keeps me from doxing all my stuff on. God, how many times have we had this conversation? Have you ever done this show with me? Have you ever?
So unprofessional.
Fine, I'll do it though. I'll do it that way.
No, it's already in there. Go get it.
Took you long enough. I don't know why I have to continue to tell you that you're worse than a child, John. You're worse than a child.
That's not true.
Basic.
I can wipe my own ass.
Basic can vouch for me on this. You can tell you something time and time again, yet you still keep doing the same damn thing. Isn't there a
That's just insanity.
Oh, why's it got to open in YouTube in the chat itself?
Well, you wanted me to put it there.
This is them on their best behavior, and they put them in rooms.
So what's up, chat? What are you guys up to? Obviously watching us, but what are your thoughts on communists and all that kind of stuff?
Who?
Let's get our views on communists. Who is pro-communist in our chat right now? I want to know. Curious.
Now, by pro-communist, do you mean full-on pro-communist, or do you mean like there are some values about communism that aren't all bad?
No. I mean, if you're like, communist, or if you're communist adjacent, as we know is a thing apparently, or communist like it's all communism really, or if you're borderline communist.
Borderline, like Madonna communist. Borderline.
Right.
Feels like I want to lose my mind. Yeah, that's communist. Feels like I'm going to lose my mind. Maybe she was singing about it.
She probably was.
This is them on their best behavior.
Oh my God, what's
They
taking
put
you
them
so long
in
with this
a
video?
room with
It's playing.
no running water.
Oh, well, I haven't
These
caught up because I have to
women
watch it
were
on the
being
stream.
told by CBP officers to
suck.
drink out of the toilet. They were drinking water out of the toilet, and that was them knowing what a congressional visit was coming. This is CBP on their best behavior, telling people to drink out of the toilet.
Did you see somebody actually do that?
Good afternoon.
Now, to be clear, the whole thing with her talking about them being forced to drink out of the toilets, space restrictions. The water fountain, I guess, in the detention centers are positioned above the toilets.
Well, they're part of the toilet. Those are like prison toilets.
Right. So
they're part of it. But
it's not cycling water from the fucking toilet.
Right. And one of the articles I read about it did mention that, and that's not what they meant. Like, they didn't mean the sink above the toilet, or if that's part of the toilet. But who knows if that's actually true? They might have actually meant that, but I have seen reports that were saying, it wasn't that water. They meant actually out of the bowl. So I don't know if that's true or not. But
what's up with midget?
B2 bomber though.
Wasn't that our last stream? Didn't we talk about the B2 bomber on the stealth bomber on our last
that was
recording?
Like 2 topics ago.
Yeah, that was 2 streams ago or something.
No, 2 topics.
To have one fly over at 4K feet is pretty dope. Don't be lame. No imaginary. I'm still saying. What am I? I mean,
I don't know.
It is pretty dope.
It was a long time ago that we talked about it. You might be way behind.
I don't even.
I don't know.
What's a B2 bomber? I don't remember. No. AOC talking about her fetishes. AOC, I want you to make me drink out of your toilet. Nice. There's basic bear for you. I gotta love it. I love it when bears talk. Here we go.
No, I mean we get all the cool bears in our Discord server.
All the cool ones?
Yeah, if they're not in their Discord server, they're not one of the cool ones.
Gotcha. All right, let's see what the Border Patrol thinks about this.
Good afternoon. My name is Roy Villarreal. I am the Chief Patrol Agent for the Tucson Border Patrol Sector. Today is July 3rd. My goal today is to dispel some of the misinformation that's out there in regards to our detention facilities. So come with me. Aliens are not forced to drink out of the toilet. Aliens have options. There's fresh water that's provided on a regular basis in a water cooler. There's also water that is provided in this is a combination of toilet and sink, and the sink provides fresh water. The wall is marked as agua potable, which is potable water. There's nothing wrong with this water.
He drank the toilet water, John. He drank the toilet water.
It's disgusting.
Ladies and gentlemen, as the men and women of the United States Border Patrol continue to safeguard our nation, I hope you have a wonderful 4th of July. Thank you. This is a supply room that is typical in every one of the stations in Tucson sector. What we have supplies of are diapers, baby wipes, clothing for children marked by gender, age, clothing for men and women. We've got supplies. These are feminine hygiene products that are readily available for any of the detainees. Now come with me as we go into one of our detention cells. What's here in front of me is a supply cart that is available to families and unaccompanied children. What it includes baby formula, crackers, raisins, tuna fish, Mylar blanket. Here's one of the other aspects. There's a lot of misinformation that we're not allowing people to brush their teeth. This is a toothbrush that is preloaded with toothpaste and is provided to everyone and readily available should they want more than one.
There's abuse in these facilities. There's abuse. This was them on their best behavior, and they put them in a room with no running water, and these women were being told by CBP officers to drink out of the toilet. They were drinking water out of the toilet, and that was them knowing a congressional visit was coming. This is CBP on their best behavior, telling people to drink out of the toilet.
Did you see somebody actually do that?
So
I mean, to be fair, what facility did she go to, and what facility was that? Right, because those are probably two completely different.
Well, it's possible
facilities, you know, because I mean, I don't want to be fair to AOC, I really don't, but I mean, in the interest of consistency and honesty, they probably went. She probably went to a completely different facility. She probably found the worst one she could find, and did her thing there.
Well, I'm not going to say that they couldn't have staged exactly what he was doing, right? I mean, they could have made it presentable to come through and do that video, right? Go to very specific places in the detention center. You notice what we didn't see was we didn't see any detainees, right? And that is
going to, like, an administration area as well. So
and that is, we've got to balance that in, because of course, if we look at, as it's been called, the lamestream media, if we look at the different media sources out there, there are pictures, there are pictures where they show large rooms with just lots of detainees in them on cots and things like this, because, you've got to address overcrowding, right? I mean, there's a lot of people that are coming right now over the border with all of the migration up from, below Mexico. I'll be honest with you, if it's run anything like your standard prison or jail, I'm going to tell you right now, it's pretty well maintained. They don't put up with a lot of that shit in those kind of facilities. They keep it clean because, of course, you don't want sickness, you don't want issues like that brewing up and causing problems among the inmates overall. You don't run a dirty facility because it's just not financially beneficial. It's not smart. So it's not like the structure's not in place. Did you happen to notice the dates on some of those photos in the LSM? What's LSM?
Yeah, they were.
Oh, the lamestream media. Sure,
they were earlier, like a few years ago before. Yeah,
and some were, and I wouldn't be surprised if some are actually current. And again, you have to address overcrowding in certain ways. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I got in trouble whenever I was younger, when I was like 17 years old, on a misdemeanor charge, but I was held, for what was it, like almost a week before I was able to get out of jail. And the place was experiencing overcrowding at the time, and the reason being was because the Olympics were coming, and this was up in Atlanta. All around Atlanta, they were cleaning the streets, specifically in the county that I was in, because this was let's go ahead and call it a Bible Belt county in Georgia, a typical Bible Belt county that was going to be hosting a specific event. And I mean, they were going around and they were rounding up homeless. They were arresting all the homeless and putting them in jail, so they kept them out of the way.
Yeah.
But anyway, so they were giving you a rolled up mattress to put out on the floor, out in the common rooms of the big cell areas, because they had so many people coming through. So you have to address it in a way, right? I'm not saying that, it's perfect for anybody. But yeah, I mean, we could devil's advocate and say how much of what he showed us was staged. I would guess that they would lean on privacy issues, this, that, and the other, about not showing detainees. But I don't see how it's a problem, if our Congress people and reporters are supposedly showing pictures of the detainees. Why don't you show us as well? Yeah, I mean, I know you don't want to give credit to AOC, but it's still.
No, I mean, I said I don't want to, but I had to. I mean, I had to say, I don't think she's 100% wrong. I think it just depends on where they go.
Well,
if they're both cherry picking is my point.
Right.
One's showing the absolute worst she could find, the other one's showing the absolute best one that they can find. So I mean, it's all a bunch of misinformation, I think, on both sides.
Yeah, and
it's exaggeration and just propaganda on both sides.
Right. Well, one thing I can say to you, there's a little conversation. Basic Bear said sounded nicer than prisons that U.S. citizen lawbreakers are sent to. Probably paid a lot of taxes. Midget says our taxes are paying for all of them. But here's something that when we talk about our prison system, surprisingly enough, yes, tax dollars do pay for it, but on a local level, right? So if you're in a county jail or a county facility or a state facility, it's happening from the county or state level where those taxes are coming from. But a lot of these prisons are privatized, and surprisingly enough, guess who is getting handed the bill for the stay, for an inmate's stay? The inmates are getting billed for their time in prison. And if you don't pay the bill, guess what? You go back to prison and accrue an even larger bill. Like literally you're billed by the day that you're in there. And the only thing that offsets that is the few cents an hour that you might make in whatever inside jail, inside prison money-making program they have, which, we've always, the first thing you think about is license plates, right? That kind of thing. But surprisingly enough. But no, AOC is snowflaking her ass off on this. If somebody is speaking Spanish comes to her and says, "Oh, they're telling us, to drink out of the toilet," she's going to take that to heart because, of course, she's mixed race, right? Or she's full Hispanic, one of the two.
I think she's full something. I don't know.
And so it tugs at her heartstrings for someone to tell her I'm drinking out of a toilet. You notice she didn't answer the question, did you see anybody physically having to drink out of the toilet? But it's not surprising, and please disavow any part of this that you want. It's not surprising to me that someone might come here from a third world country, see a sink above a toilet, and make the assumption that the water that they're drinking is coming up from the toilet, or it's the same water that's going into the toilet. So instantly it's bad. I mean, there's this idea like, right, the water in the toilet is dirty. No, it's only as dirty as your toilet bowl, right?
Right.
So if you're using bleach in your toilet bowl, you can stick your cup down in there and drink that water all day long if you want. That's clean water. But, I mean, am I wrong there? That could be a very misconceived idea.
It could be. Yeah, it could be.
She's New Yorican.
Yeah, New Yorican.
But it's, it's one of those ideas that you can't just... She's fake news when she does that. She is just more fake news. And she's making a mockery of any plight that might actually be going on there. And it's creating a lot of controversy that is, again, taking us away from the issue at hand. She's failing in that area. Because now what do we focus on with this immigration issue now?
Whether or not she's lying.
Right.
It's unfortunate that we're not dealing with the actual issue.
Right.
Just whether or not she's being honest about the issue.
Right. Everybody's crying about the situation. Everybody's crying. Everybody's crying. Well, you're drawing all the focus onto you with your crying,
right?
As opposed to, well, let's go down there and see. Go in there and literally get us, transparency. We want transparency on this.
Yeah, I like what Stephen Ignoramus had to say on his show. he was talking about they should just rig cameras everywhere inside those things and live stream it constantly, for full transparency. So if there's any kind of abuse or anything, it can be dealt with, and there's proof of it happening.
Mhm.
I mean, that makes everyone happy, in my opinion.
Well, it's I will say, would I be against body cams at least on the officers that are down there? I mean,
They can turn those off.
Well, I understand they can turn them
Yeah.
off. But you understand what I'm saying. I mean, we put them on police. Why should there be a difference in, our border patrol having body cams on as well as our police?
Yeah,
I
I'd
mean,
be fine with that. I mean, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, it's and why it says don't be fooled. She didn't vote to give Border Patrol money for better conditions. And see, there's the thing. They just, what was it, $4 billion approved to go to the border wall, border funding, right? And the bulk of the votes were positive. They were for this money. I want to say that there was just a very small handful of nay votes that were against it, and so obviously a lot of Republicans and the majority of Democrats voted for this money to be apportioned. The border wall is going to happen. Whether or not we get a little more accountability for what's going on down at the border, because I cannot say it's perfect. We do have instances that have been going on. We've had Border Patrol accused of and being potentially charged with sexual crimes, things like this, abuse, and the validity of it is neither here nor there. That's for the courts to decide. It's for the evidence to lay out. But these are humans. These are people. On both sides of this issue. I mean, you're going to have a percentage of things, right? It's I think you can take one incident, and if you blow it up enough, the American public there's a large sector of the American public that's going to assume that this is the status quo.
Right.
But I don't know. I mean, what do you? I mean, how much of it do you think is hype, John? I mean, what have you seen that really resonates with you about the conditions and what's going on down at the border?
I don't know. I can't believe either person in this video that we just watched. Like I said, it looks like he's got like the top of the line facility, and she probably went to the worst facility that she could find. And so, and I mean, no one is above, propaganda. No one's above exaggeration, to fit their own, narrative. So obviously, the border agent wants these places to stay up, to stay running because he gets paid. And obviously, she wants them shut down because then that gets her a political win, and that is really good for her career. So they both have, these motivations to do those kind of things. And so I don't know. It's probably somewhere in the middle. I mean, there's probably some pretty shitty detention centers, but at the same time, these people knew what might happen. They knew the risks when they decided to jump the border,
right?
To try and come in.
Is it? I don't know. I can't stop from just going back to in my mind, to shut the borders, to just shut them. God damn it, just shut the borders. Just stop letting anybody by, and and focus all your efforts on keeping people from crossing over illegally. And then I guess the other part is, if they're, how far across the border are these people making it that we have to hold them in detention facilities? Why aren't we just immediately bussing them back? I mean, do we really need to pursue criminal charges against these people as opposed to just send them back? You stepped over the border illegally, boot you back. boot you back? Why do we
Yeah.
need to give them a trial? This is the part that does bother me a little bit. Why do we need to waste resources on charging these people with this kind of stuff? I mean,
I don't know.
isn't that a waste? Do you agree that that's a waste in some way?
I mean, I don't know how the law goes with that, so I have no idea. I really can't, speak on that because I have no clue.
What about this? What about all of the hype with separating children from their parents? Do we have an issue there? Have you seen enough
No,
to make that
I
concrete
think,
for you?
yeah, no, I mean, I think we do need to separate the children from their parents for as long until we can find out that those are actually their parents. I think that's the most
It's
important
understandable.
reason why we would do that. It has nothing to do with not being compassionate. In fact, it's because it's a compassionate thing to do. It sucks. But until we find out that those are actually your parents, no, sorry. And like people have said before, it's the same thing with when a citizen goes to prison. You can't bring your kids with you to prison.
Right.
You're going to get separated.
Well, yeah, I get that aspect of it, but yeah, I don't know. You can't get away from the fact that it's going to be traumatic for the kids.
Of course,
because they're already going through something extremely traumatic at the time. I mean, they're uprooted from their home and carried for thousands of miles to cross into a country that apparently doesn't want you there, and then you're separated from any adult, whether that may or may not have been your family, but it was somebody that gave you security of home. And now you're in a detention. Yeah. I don't know. It's harsh.
Well, I mean,
to think about
but again, no one made. Yeah, but again, it's the parents. The blame falls on the parents.
I understand
that, not the kids.
But that doesn't But it doesn't alleviate how traumatic it is for the kids.
Of course, it is. Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's the part that bothers me the most. And yes, I will defame the parents who think it's okay to just take the law into their own hands and not follow the proper channels.
But I don't think there is any kind of real way to solve that so that no part of it is traumatic for the child. I mean, that would be great, but I don't see how you can do it.
Yeah.
I mean, even if they were able to stay with their parents, it would still be extremely traumatic.
Yeah, I get that, and I'm not saying that they're I'm not going to lean on they're one way or the other as far as the right or wrong, unless they're abusing the children in any way, shape, or form. Then of course that's wrong, right? And any isolated events that have happened, if they're caught and brought to justice, I'm great with that. But it just I feel bad for the kids. I feel so bad for the kids, and I can sit and blame the parents all day long, but it doesn't alleviate how I feel about what's happening to the kids.
Yeah, and it is unfortunate. It does suck.
Yeah,
I mean, again, it's the parents who are bringing, who are risking their children. I mean, from death on the way to the border.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that children always tend to be the victims in these situations. No matter
they're
what
also
it is.
easy pawns to use for political gain.
Oh yeah,
because everyone cares about children, so. All you should do is say, think of the children, and all of a sudden you're correct.
But it's this is not this is not an unusual thing to happen. I mean, we've seen there's always been immigration issues where even sending for many years sending kids across with the coyotes to get them from one family member to another family member on the other side of the border illegally. It's not something new. Right. But if you're told you can't come across, just wait in fucking line. Not that they're going to hear me say that, but I mean, for God's sakes, do it the right way. Think about the damage. Think about the harm to the children. I don't know that children are. I don't know. Do third world countries not have the same compassionate feelings about their children? But of course, I guess maybe they do if they brought them all this way to get out of those third world areas. That's
like what Midget B said. Democrats are mad that their supply is being cut off.
Wow. I think haven't it?
That's true. They're trying to import a voter base. I mean, that's exactly what they're trying to do.
Is that what it is?
No, I'm not even joking. That's that's exactly what they're doing. Roundtable decision. Did we hear about Cory Booker? What about him? I guess not. If there's something new.
Cory Booker. And Midget says, and coyotes often assist dozens of men to insert sperm into these kids before leaving them in the
It's
desert.
true, though.
It's things
It
like
is
that
true.
happen, right? I mean,
There was a story of the one, like, I think she was like a 10-year-old girl, had 20 different samples in her. That's just fucking horrible.
right?
But you don't want to separate the kids from, you don't want to separate her from the people who brought her, right?
Well,
Not even thinking.
and this was somebody in the recent immigration and migrant situation that you're talking about.
Yeah, that was very recent. Yeah.
Yeah, it's and I'm not gonna justify it, but I mean, this human trafficking's been going on for a long time.
Of course, yeah.
But and honestly, from different statistics I've seen throughout the years, it's not specific. That's not the largest avenue for these. What did I just say? The human trafficking to go on. We get so many from countries abroad by boat. It's not even surprising. Asian and Russian and Scandinavian, all of these others.
It's nothing unique to the Mexican border,
right?
By any means. But I mean, the fact is that it's people who are saying, "Hey, let's not separate kids," at the border. It's like, well, that is an exact example why we do that. So otherwise, that's just going to continue.
So Wyatt says Booker personally accompanied asylum seekers across the border. Now, I need to understand this. So was he accompanying asylum seekers that were coming across illegally, or was he accompanying asylum seekers that were coming through the border properly and walking in with them as they came in to claim asylum and move forward through the proper channels? That is, that's got to be clarified, because, like Midget says, what a cunt face, it's a fucking felony. Yes, it would be a felon if he assisted them in illegally coming into the country, but if he just accompanied them as they came through proper channels, that's just him looking for a Polaroid moment, right?
From what I'm reading, that's what it seems like. I'm reading the article that Wyatt had posted in the chat. Yeah, I mean, it seems like it says that he observed the crossing, their interactions with federal immigration authorities, and the disastrous impact of President Trump's cruel immigration policy as the migrants attempted to avoid the so-called migrant protection protocols implemented by the Trump administration, said an email from his campaign. It says Booker helped 5 women make it to a U.S. shelter and not a detention center, according to Andrew Kimmel. Those women were originally sent back to Mexico under the migrant protection protocols, and Booker told reporters Wednesday that his office intends on keeping touch with them. So it's not really saying what exactly happened.
Because, I mean, when it's all said and done, it sounds like a campaign stunt. But of course. I really can't believe it's possible that he would do something illegal while he's trying to run for president.
He is a Democrat.
What? And they're not going to arrest him for coyoteing 5 women across, right?
Please, no.
Right.
No, they're not going to arrest him for nothing. He can do whatever he wants.
No, he's not Donald Trump. He's not above the law yet.
Yes, he is. Just not as above the law.
Really, Cory Booker? Like he's relevant to anybody in charge.
Yeah, no one gives a shit about Cory Booker. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything on this about what he actually did. So, And yes, basically, we did see him speaking Spanish at the debate. It was hilarious.
Yeah, he really. Well, to be fair, he was just jumping on a bandwagon because it was who was it that
Wasn't
for
it?
Beto O'Rourke.
It was Beto O'Rourke. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was
He got
saying
to it
Corey,
first.
and Corey was the look on his face. I can't believe you did that first, you son of a bitch.
That was my plan. Yeah.
Yeah, no, Corey did. Corey did hit some Spanish notes while he was in there. He did a little bit, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
But he wasn't the first. It was Beto O'Rourke who whipped it out first and
Yeah.
threw that out there for the pandering.
And yeah, we know that Beto O'Rourke is not his real name. It's just what he calls himself now.
Yeah, Mickey O'Rourke was taken. So I don't know, John. I mean, this immigration thing. I don't get us. You know, why are we? Look, we've got the Statue of Liberty, and it's got its nice little plaque, and it says all this wonderful stuff on Ellis Island about bringing your immigrants and bringing us your poor and you're hungry and this, that, and the other. I mean, it says to do it. Come on, bring them on. We'll take them. I mean, and this tells people.
Fuck off, we're full.
Right. This tells people to go ahead and do exactly what's happening at the southern border, right? You know, it's.
Well, if you notice, they were supposed to come into Ellis Island. So, I mean, there was a proper way of doing it, even if we were letting everyone in en masse.
Yeah, but
at least a process.
Yeah, but trying to get to Ellis Island from Mexico, you got to go through America.
Well,
that's the fastest route.
I'm just saying that there's a process.
Yes, there's a process, and I get it. But it's outdated, right? That meant something at one point. There was a purpose for that, and I get it. But we're past that point. It's like you said, F off. We're full. We've got problems here. It's like it was said in the chat earlier. We need to focus on our kids here. We need to focus on what's happening in our country. We've got widespread homelessness. We've got children that don't have homes. And I understand that it's not necessarily our job to, take care of the homeless, like that socialist attitude to, pick all the homeless up and take care of them. But when it comes to immigration, we have too much work on our plate already. It's like going to the buffet, filling up your plate, sitting down and saying, you know what, this may not be enough. Let me go get another plate, and then repeat that like 6 times. Right? That's where we are with immigration in this country, in my opinion. We've got too many people on a path that is a long, arduous path that is frustrating, and a lot of maintenance to stay up with, to stay current, especially when they have long delays and they've constantly got to get updated cards or this, that, or the other. We've got so many that are undocumented in this country. Why do we want to let anybody in from anywhere? It's not just our southern border. I don't even want to take another Canadian in. I don't give a
especially
shit.
Not Canadians.
I don't give.
Fuck Canadians. They can stay the hell out.
I don't care where you're from.
Support all Canadians.
Right now, we need to focus on America. We are at a point where we're poised for that. I mean, it would not be out of line or out of character for our president to shut the borders completely in a logical way. Where
no one would be surprised,
right?
They'd probably be angry, but no one would be surprised.
No new entry into the country. If you've already got a process in place, or if you're normally travel back and forth between countries, I understand travel visas. We can take care of that. That's fine, travel visas, but make them a little more secure, make it a little more track worthy so that we don't have to worry. But if you've got a travel visa, you've probably went through a process to where you're trackable. We can find you. Shut it down, John. Shut it down. Why not? That's what I want to hear. That's what I want to hear. That would be what Trump could do to really. I'm just saying, John, he might get my vote if he were to pull that. It's not that that's all it would take, but that's the kind of bold move that would, it's not about temper. It's not about grandstanding like many other things that he might do, and I've said he does some good things, but this would be the right bold move. That would let me know that he really gives a shit about what's going on in America, that he's ready to knuckle down and focus on making this country great again. This country only, right? And where it's at now. Let's make what exists here great. Let's not worry about adding more greatness to it, because I disagree. I think that the idea of immigrants into this country now creates more contention than it ever has before. It's even from the standpoint of new immigrants coming into this country seeking the American dream. I mean, you know, go and try and get yourself a business loan from the government, John, for $100,000 to start a business. You might have to get in line behind immigrants who've come into this country and are looking for a way to start off on the American dream. That's the mindset in this country, that if I want to do something, I have to pass hurdles for immigrants, for affirmative action, for this, for that. These are the things that we look at when we try and do it. And I've long felt that, you know, even from the small business standpoint, an immigrant is more likely to get a business loan from our government or anywhere else than a regular American who's been here all their life.
Sure.
I
don't know how true that is. I don't know.
I mean, I granted, I'll admit
it's
it's just opinion and it's cynical, but this is what I've learned over the years. These are the things that I've seen, and this is what it's culminated into. Is it's just like sending my girls to, if my girls go to college, who do they have to get in line behind because of affirmative action? All of it ties in together, these policies that we have that put other people before others. No, we need equality. But when it comes to immigration, we don't need to put immigrants ahead of Americans anymore. I'm not saying I'm against other people in other countries. Don't misconstrue it. I'm kind of a nationalist. I'm kind of that way, Is that wrong, John?
Yeah.
Am I in the wrong place on this?
Probably. You're on the wrong side of history. But I mean, I think that's all of our topics, though. So we should GTFO, unless the chat has anything they want to.
Well, they're talking about the Man in the Moon. What are they talking about? All this Bob Dylan changing names. Man in the Coon Cat wants $11 bill, but you only got Bob Dylan.
And they're talking about the small hats.
And here we go. Why do Jews always change their names to make them sound not Jewish?
I don't know.
So the people who hate Jews will still buy their records or will still buy their products, I mean, it's that's called smart business tactic is what that's called. Anti-Semitism is still alive and kicking, even if not
alive
often.
In our chat right now.
Apparently. It's again, disavow.
We disavow everything that we say, and we disavow everything that everyone else says.
You know what?
Disavowed it.
I don't disavow all what I say. I do. I stand on no more immigration for a while.
I disavow everything I've ever said for sure.
Give it 5. Let's do it for 5 years with an option for 5 more. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So having said that,
a lease.
having said that, and probably pissing some folks off, which I really don't care because
not in our audience. No, they're
when it's all said and done, America.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I have to say. This is America, and this is the time in our history to do things like this. We have the president in place that can pull these things off and not really surprise the world too much anymore. I mean, the shock and awe is gone from it now. It's just Trumpism, But if you like what you're hearing, hit the like button. If you haven't done it already, hit the subscribe button so that you're on top of when these shows are coming out, because we're coming at you every Friday at 8:30. We're coming at you every Monday night at 9 o'clock, which we'll be back again on Monday night with our next Shooting the Shit episode. John's trying to wrangle up some guests, and if you out there in our chat, if you've got something relevant to say, and I'm going to point my finger at Midget B as well, because Midget, I don't dislike talking to him when I don't have to see him, right? If he's just if it's through this, it's fine. Like the last time, when he's in your face, it's kind of like, good God, the alcohol fumes. But I feel like my face is getting a chemical peel every time I talk to him. But you know, if you want to come, if you've got, hey, you know what? Cameron Michael showed up and he got swept up in all the Bob Dylan talk. Cameron Michael, good to see you, human, my friend.
If he's still around.
Yeah, God knows he might not be because he didn't get any call outs.
Yeah.
But if you want to, if you feel like you've got something relevant to say, and we'll be the judge of that. You know, we know who comes into Discord and talks to us and what you have to say. And if you want to come on and share your opinion with us, talk about something, we're more than happy to, because I think it's important that we get the, you know, the man on the street opinion just as well as, you know,
Oh, there is Cameron Michael. He's still here.
other streamers, that kind of thing. You know, everybody's important when these conversations. Now, on the flip side, we will roast your ass if you have no clue what you're talking about, or what you have to say is just some propaganda bullshit, commie talk. But you know,
especially commie talk.
all right. So outside of that, hey, you know, once again, shout out to the video that we got to see from our buddy Ford Fisher.
Yeah.
You know, that's some awesome stuff. Check out his channel. We're going to get those links down in the description. That's right down there. And John, what else is in that description that they should remember?
Oh man, down there you can find our Twitter at the Gen Gap P. You can find the link to our Discord server, which is right, like I said, down below. And you can find the link to freedomscoop.com, where we're on there, and we have videos and articles, and other people have videos and articles. And yeah, I know, I was trying not
Who
to
invited
read that.
Cameron? Who invited him?
Right?
AOC.
So yeah, go check out Freedom Scoop. There's mostly us, but also some other kind of cool people, I guess. But mostly go there for us.
Yeah, and
we'll see you there.
You know, I strongly, you know, Discord. I'm really happy with the way the Discord server has gone. If you're not in there having conversations, and yes, sometimes they get a little toxic. We have some back and forth that go on in there, but you know, and it's not always staying at the healthy level. But for the most part, we do have some conversations in there. So if you get in there and, you know, invite people into it as well, let them know that they're there, that we're there, and we're having these conversations, because a lot of what we talk about in there, we do bring into the show, and we talk about it here on the show, and it's a good avenue to get you involved in the show as well. So folks, we appreciate you listening tonight, and in case we didn't say it, happy 243rd anniversary to the United States of America. She's a hell of a gal. She's been hanging in there for quite some time. Keeping our fingers crossed that we've got another 243 in us, and I'm also keeping my fingers crossed that I'll be around to see it. Go science! But anyway, outside of that, John, it's been fun talking to you. We'll talk again soon. See you at 9 o'clock for Shooting the Shit on Monday night. And outside of that, we're going to get the hell out of here. John, have yourself a good night. Folks, have yourself a good night. And peace out.
See you guys.